Rachel TOS. I almost said Rachel Rinchlinsky because that's how I knew you for so long.
I wouldn't have been offended. It's okay. There are many people, my boss included, that still has my name in their cell phone as Rich Linsky. And I'm like, that's okay. That's what I have in my Stanley Cup ring, too. So.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice a little flex to start here.
Off the top. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Jesse Montano here, back. We got another episode. This is fun. I'm technically producerless again this week, but that's okay. We got a great guest coming on. I got some stuff I'm going to kind of fly through here that I've been thinking about, talking about with folks. And then we're going to get to our guest, and it's going to be great. I want to start because earlier this evening, right now, currently he's playing right now, Alex Ovechkin has hit 30 goals on the season. On this show, a few episodes ago, I talked about that I wanted to see him get to 30 because I thought if he got to 30, that put him under, he's a couple under 50 now, needed to get Wayne Gretzky's record. He is really heated up here in the back half. You knew he was going to bounce back. Greatest goal scorer of all time. You knew he wasn't going to go quietly into the summer. And here we are. He's at 30 goals. For me, next year, record watch is officially on. And then after that, we're chasing down 900. I get why people don't like Alex Ovechkin. I get why there are people that would maybe root against it. Actually, I don't get that second one. It's awesome to see history fall. It's awesome to see history made, and no doubt about it, if Alex Ovechkin is to end up breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, we'll all be very fortunate to have seen it, lived through that, been a part of it. So he's, like I said, he's less than 50 away. I think, what is he now, 852? I think he's at 852 right now. 852. So he's getting there. He's close. Next season, I think it's realistic. That'll be exciting. They're playing the Red Wings right now. The Washington Capitals are in a battle of two teams that apparently no one wants to win. The last couple wild card spots and the third spot in the Metro or the Atlantic. They're all still up. It's all up for grabs, and none of the teams seem to be taking it. None of them seem to be interested. I've never seen this in. I guess. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, but in any league, it looked like this race was settled a month ago. It looked like it was going to be the Red Wings with an outside shot that the Capitals could make some noise and make it interesting at the end. And suddenly here we are. There's 6 teams in the mix for these last couple spots out east. It's funny, the way that the league has kind of swung the last couple years, the NHL. I feel like last year the East kind of seemed like this unstoppable force. This year, to me, it seems pretty clear that the West is better as far as playoff teams go, top to bottom. Hey, by the way, Colorado Avalanche fans out there, San Jose Sharks have 5 games left. If they don't collect at least 5 points, the Avs will no longer be the worst team in modern NHL history in the 2016-17 season when they finished with 48 points. Sharks have a chance to be worse. So Avs fans, keep an eye on that. Big news, big sporting news for this week. March Madness wrapped up for both the men's and the women's. Caitlin Clark's Iowa lost to the undefeated South Carolina in the final. And then UConn repeats, knocking off Purdue in what ended up being a really kind of uninteresting game. This year's tournaments ended up exemplifying what it is that I don't like about college sports. March Madness especially, I feel like, has this perception that it's like this, you have these crazy underdog stories every year and it's nothing but upsets and things like that. But on both the men's and women's side, the national championship game ended up a 1 versus a 1 and a 1 versus a 1. And the team that came out on top for the women's, it was South Carolina, went 38-0. That's crazy to me. And it got less crazy when I found out they were the 10th team to ever do it. But then UConn, who, like I said, is repeating, going back to back. So I don't know. Like, I feel like you end up with all this drama in the first couple of rounds, but then by the time it shakes all the way out and you're crowning a champion, it's the exact teams that you expected to be there anyways. You even could look at the Frozen Four that's getting ready to take place. I believe it's this upcoming weekend in Minnesota. And you know, again, it's DU, it's Michigan, and oh my gosh. Boston College and Boston University. Like, it's all the power schools. And I just feel like with college, especially with the way that they can recruit, pedigree of programs and stuff like that, it's just so hard. I was just talking about the amount of parity that we're seeing in the NHL this year. I even thought the NFL. There were some surprise teams this year in the NFL. I feel like the NBA and the MLB really struggle on the parity side, at least as much. You know, it only became recently that it felt like teams other than wherever LeBron was playing or the Boston Celtics or the Golden State Warriors were allowed to win. But I just like when I look at college sports, would pick a sport, hockey, basketball, football. It just seems like there's a lot of fun individual moments for individual schools on individual weekends or whatever. But when it comes right down to it, it's the same group of teams and schools at the end every year anyways. Caitlin Clark, I'm so fascinated to see what happens next. She's going to the WNBA. She's going to be the first overall pick. You have to hope that the WNBA can capture and bottle up what it is that Caitlin Clark has done for women's basketball and continue to push that forward. NCAA March Madness has a much bigger platform. Like the WNBA plays at a weird time of year. Not a lot of people know that it's going on in the summer, in the off season. The WNBA needs to take advantage of the fact that Caitlin Clark has become a household name, unbelievable player. I mean, like even in the national championship game, she missed several of them, but like just where she has the confidence to jack up a shot from, and like she wasn't like on the shots that she missed, like she drained a couple deep ones in the national championship, but like she's not like way off on any of these shots. Unbelievable player. You hope that they can market her correctly, and Angel Reese and the other multiple high-end women's basketball players that are coming out of the NCAA this year, and take advantage of it. You see the success that the PWHL is having on the hockey side. It's growth of the game, and it's nothing but good to see. And I hope at least the WNBA can package all that up and really use the momentum that Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese have picked up and carry it forward into the professional game. There's been a lot of good players that have gone to the WNBA in the past, and they've struggled to capture that and help and continue to grow it. So we'll see what happens there. Last thing I've got, then I'm heading down to Ball Arena. Colorado Avalanche, Minnesota Wild. We are so close to the end of the regular season. One more road trip. We'll be going to Vegas this weekend, and we're staying out there for a couple days. There's a video production convention in Vegas that we're going to stay and hang out for. Folks here at Guerilla Capturing, Guerilla Sports. We went to Minnesota last week. We went to Columbus, Minnesota, and Edmonton. I haven't even talked on this show. Hit 32 NHL arenas this year. Or did I talk about it? I talked about it last week because I was in Minnesota, I think, or was I still in Columbus? I talked about it on the show last week. Hit 32 NHL arenas. That was great. So now I already talked about it. I don't need to do it again. But we were in Minnesota last week. Brandon Duhaime, forward for the Colorado Avalanche, used to play for the Wild, pranked Marc-Andre Fleury, their goaltender, by wrapping his car in toilet paper while Fleury was practicing. What a fun, innocent joke to play on a former teammate that I'm sure did not take very long to amend. So like I said, the Wild are in town. Marc-Andre Fleury shows up to Ball Arena yesterday where the Avs are practicing. Had gone to Home Depot, bought several bags of compost and like soil. Jeez, I couldn't find the word. Like planter soil. Some flour. And he piled up the dirt and planted the flowers on the hooded Brandon Duhaime's car. What a fun joke, right? What a funny way to get back at your friend. Marc-Andre Fleury and someone else then took all of the wheels off of Brandon Duhaime's car and put his car up on blocks and then chained the wheels up. Way overboard. Not at all the same. Not at all equal as wrapping toilet paper around someone's car. Brandon Duhaime seemed to be a good sport about it. I wouldn't have been. I would have been furious. They were filming the whole thing, and I was making the joke to a couple of guys in the locker room today, like, I wouldn't have wanted a camera on me when I was seeing that because I would have flipped out. Yeah, not the same. I like the little, like, oh, they're pranking each other back and forth. They're buddies, they're friends, they're teammates, competitors. But my goodness, Marc-Andre Fleury did not find the toilet paper funny, apparently. So like I said, I got to get over there. Go see what's going on at Ball Arena. Really fun guest coming on this week. She runs the in-arena show for the Colorado Avalanche, and they do it in a unique way here in Denver. It's not broadcast television, but it is every single bit of that. But somehow it's live. It's like live performing broadcast TV in front of 20,000 people, and it was super fun to get to talk to Rachel. So hope you guys enjoy. Rachel TOS from Avs in-arena production at Ball Arena. You'll know my next guest if you've ever been to an Avalanche game at Ball Arena. In-arena host Rachel TOS. I almost said Rachel Rynchlinsky because that's how I knew you for so long.
I wouldn't have been offended. It's okay. There are many people, my boss included, that still has my name in their cell phone as Rynchlinsky. And I'm like, that's okay. That's what I have on my Stanley Cup ring, too. So.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little flex to start here.
Off the top. Okay. No, but, it's funny because, I got married last year, and my wife is still going through the long process of changing everything. One thing that most people don't have to get changed is a voiceover and a graphic on the screen, but those are two things that you had to add.
And that's what I did first, actually. All the legal stuff came like a year plus later, but the first thing I changed was my intro video in the arena.
Yeah, so that's seriously why I almost said Rachel Rynchlinsky, because I'm so trained to hear it. I do have to start every interview the same way. Toilet paper on the roll. Do you hang over or under?
Absolutely over. And it's a real issue if somebody doesn't have a strong opinion on this. I mean, you look at it and that's so wrong.
I know.
It's so wrong.
So when I was telling people, I said, I want this to be my first question, someone here was like, why? And I said, we already have an issue with the fact that you don't have an opinion on this.
We asked for Ask the Avs, which is a popular, video that's run during Avs games. I think it was 2 years ago. It was Georgiev's first year with the team. Mm-hmm. And so we're just getting to meet, some of the new players. So Georgiev comes in and I always conduct these questions off camera. And it was, does the toilet paper go over or under? Everyone's buying into it. Everyone thinks it's funny. Everyone has a strong opinion about it. And Georgiev, who I don't know, I've just met, goes, repeat that. And I say it again. And he goes, that's really inappropriate. Or he said, that's really personal. Or something along those lines.
Oh my gosh, I think I remember
that.
And
I thought he was kidding. And so I start laughing and he doesn't laugh. And I'm like, all right, well, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to go hide in the bathroom.
Do literally anything else. Yeah. Well, and then he's a goalie, so they're a little weird and quirky to begin with.
Maybe he didn't it's not his first language. Maybe he didn't
funny.
understand the question, but it's a good one.
Because most people have an opinion one way or the other. When I had Megan Angley from DNVR on here, and it took me even a couple days to realize, she goes, are the people that say under, do they own cats? And I thought it was like a cat person did.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the cats.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I seriously, it was like a day later. Oh, that's what she meant. Because when she asked it, I was like,
she's just taking a dig at cat people.
Yeah, a weird shot at cat people for no reason.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, so correct answer.
Yes.
Good job.
And I will change someone's if I visit their house and it's,
Do you really?
Oh yeah,
so
100%.
I'll just fix that for you.
I'll fix that. You're welcome.
Someone here actually a couple weeks ago, I went into the bathroom upstairs and it had been put on backwards. And I was like, I've been gone for a few days and
this
look
place
what
falls
happens.
apart.
Yeah. Can't leave you guys alone. So Rachel, let's get into a little bit just about you. You have an interesting background. And I want to start with, you were the tailgate correspondent.
Oh boy, right? Yes, that was a small stint.
But what I found interesting about it was LSU football, right? That's not like a small little program. What was that like?
So I think we actually should take a step back.
Ooh, okay.
So from Louisiana, right? The LSU stuff. So born and raised in South Louisiana. Didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. Long story short, landed on journalism. Here we are. Nice. But I worked for Tiger Television on LSU's campus. So it was a student-run TV station. Great way to weed a lot of people out, but a great way to like really introduce people to what this world is like, you know, with the cameras and the editing, the software and all of that stuff. And so I did Tiger TV for 2 years. And I believe it was around that time, maybe 2 years into Tiger TV, before I started interning in local news, where I picked up this correspondent gig. I don't even remember how it happened. I don't know if it was something I applied for, or if I reached out. I truly don't remember.
Or if you just said yes to the right thing.
Yeah, it was just, one season where they would send down this production crew of like one person, but he had like, at the time, I mean, this was a few years ago. At the time, it was beautiful equipment that I had never seen, like jibs and a GoPro, or like really advanced stuff. And so we would just walk around tailgates and just try to get various shots with them. And then I had a small little baby camera that I was trying to get shots of, and just try to tell that tailgate cultural experience. And then didn't actually do a lot of football coverage with them. It was more about the culture around it. But through Tiger Television, we did a lot of football coverage. So I'd be on the sideline like videoing and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Because when I'm getting ready, to do these types of interviews, I try to find the stuff that I find the most interesting. And that was somewhere I was like, SEC football fans like that. I imagine that you had some pretty rowdy.
It got tough. People who have been drinking don't love for a video camera to be around them.
Or they love it a little bit too much.
Or it gets a little too intense and they grab the camera and I'm like, that costs a lot of money. Please don't touch it,
And then you're trying to be like fun and not be like the stickler, but also like, I haven't had a single drink and I need that camera back, please.
I'm working right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
But so the football coverage came more from the Tiger Television days. And then I also interned at a local station in Baton Rouge, WAFB TV, which I owe my life to and those people there. So we're still very close with a lot of people that are there, and sports director recently retired, but we did a lot of hands-on coverage through those programs. Yeah. So I was an MMJ, a multimedia journalist, meaning I would shoot my own stuff, edit my own stuff, or if I was interning, provide it to whoever was anchoring that night. So
did you always want it to be sports, or were you just
always sports?
Okay.
Yeah. I got into this for sports first, and I remember when I graduated, the jobs are hard to come by. Like there's not a lot to begin with. You have to move across the country usually to get these local news jobs or these on-air jobs, and I was getting prepped by a lot of different people that I should consider accepting a news job and then working my way into sports. And that wasn't an option. I was like, I think I'll just have to figure something else out. That wasn't what I wanted to do. I got into this because I enjoyed sports. I grew up playing softball and volleyball. I love the way it brings a community together. I mean, it's what gave me purpose my whole childhood. My world revolved around sports, whether it was playing or enjoying a football game, because that's, a whole religion in South Louisiana. Right. So it was definitely sports first for me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm with you. I remember when I was first getting into this, getting a lot of you may have to move to, Wyoming and South Dakota and read the news. Yeah. Mississippi.
We'll get there.
and just read the news. And I had the same thought where I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'd that's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to chase.
Yeah. Which is interesting now, because I'm like, a morning news anchor job does sound kind of cool. I could do that. I could read but no, not early in your career. You're like young and full of hopes and dreams.
And I can get there. I can do anything.
Yeah.
Well, then reading a teleprompter is hard. People don't get enough credit for that. That's hard. You have to have a good operator.
I haven't used a prompter in 5 years though. And actually, as you know, I came here from a shoot, which I can't provide details on, but I did use a prompter for it. Ooh, and it was interesting. Yeah. It was the first time I've used a prompter in so long. And it's weird to rely on a script that heavily. So
see, I'm also, and maybe we will just jump to this right now. I don't, like we were talking about before we started this, I don't like having stuff that I have to read off of. Do you, I'm going to jump, we're going to circle back, but do you, for your in-arena stuff now, how much of that is off the top of your head? Not off the top of your head, obviously you're prepped, but how much of that do you know what you're going to say, and how much of that do you just kind of feel it out?
It depends. Pre-game is far more scripted than the intermissions, because it's, talking through goals and all of that. Yeah. It also helps my directors and the people behind the scenes to be able to follow along a little bit more with okay, well, we know she is talking about this, and this is her cadence, and this is the sentence. Yep. Once she kind of says this sentence, then we'll put up that graphic. So it does still help to have everything scripted out. I am a visual person. I like to have things scripted out, but I have always struggled with things being a little too scripty and like trying to do things off the cuff.
To read it,
instead of straight up bullet points, I will script things out, but I'll kind of leave myself a gap or a space to make a joke here or to do something light here and to throw in the, well, and check this out. I'm not going to write that in usually. Sometimes I do and I'm like, that just looks weird. So to answer your question, it's scripted, but I try to go off the script when I can, when it feels comfortable.
But what you said about being able to have your support team be able to follow along, that totally, that's
it just makes more sense for them to know that, again, when I'm finishing this thought, okay, it makes sense to then pull up the McKinnon graphic about, whatever take your pick, whatever McKinnon graphic
whatever
it is.
Crazy thing he's done that night. Rachel, you've always seemed like very much a Colorado person to me.
That's the biggest compliment I've ever received. Thank you.
Did you always want to get out here? What and what stops did you have to make along the way to get here?
Yeah, I so born and raised in South Louisiana. Yep. My mom is an international flight attendant. So she's always been very, go, fly, do your thing, get away from home. And so I always had the itch to go. And especially with these jobs, you have to be willing to move, right? And so I was totally fine with that. I mean, I love my family, but I was ready to go. And ready to see something else. I mean, small town Louisiana, I know that there's bigger and better things out there and I wanted to explore it. And so, interned at WAFB in Baton Rouge, like I mentioned, and that at the time was a Raycom owned TV station. And so I'm applying for jobs, I didn't get one that I really thought I wanted. My heart shattered. It's the end of the world. And then another job comes along and ends up being even better. So lesson to anyone that, there's usually something better that's designed for you around the corner.
Totally.
And so my first job was a local sports anchor reporter at the local NBC and Fox affiliate in Jackson, Mississippi, which at the time was a Raycom owned station. So it was within the Raycom family, which really helped that I had this internship experience. They gave me a good recommendation, all of that. And so I was actually hired before I graduated, a couple weeks before. And I remember thinking, what if I fail my exams? But just proof that it doesn't really matter if you have a degree, because no one has asked me to see my degree. I swear I have it, but no one has asked. No one's asked what my GPA is either. It was
what your extracurriculars were?
Yeah. It was.
Wait, what was it?
It was like a 3.4, 3.5. I mean, it's like pretty good. And it's okay.
No,
all the sorority stuff that no one, it doesn't matter what's on your resume. Anyway, so get that job, and it was a fabulous, fabulous first job. So I don't know if you're familiar with like the DMA rankings, I believe they're called. I haven't looked at it in years, but basically I think it's the Nielsen TV rankings, market rankings. So it's 210. And again, I haven't looked at this in years. I don't know how much it's changed, but there were 210 TV markets at the time, at least, 210 being the lowest. It is determined by TVs in households, number of TVs in households. Number one, of course, being New York City. And so your first job, I mean, you're targeting like the bottom up to that, 150 range, maybe.
Yeah.
So Jackson at the time was a top 100 market.
Nice.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I hit the jackpot. This is awesome. But not only that, you can get a little stuck in that market size stuff. I mean, it was still Mississippi at the end of the day. This is not like...
Well, I'll be honest. I was not expecting you to be like, top one. I thought you were going to be like, we were 209.
Oh, no. I was surprised. So it was actually a very similar market size to Baton Rouge. I think they, at the time, were just like one or two numbers off.
All right.
So I was pumped. It was a duopoly again with NBC and Fox. So we actually had a 3-person sports department. So we had the sports director who was the anchor on NBC. We had another sports anchor on Fox. And then I was reporter for both and weekend anchor for both.
Oh,
and so I got a ton of reps really fast, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was SEC, baby.
Yeah, no
which
kidding.
is all I wanted. So not LSU, which was tough, but spent a lot of time with Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Also had Conference USA in Southern Miss.
Okay.
Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Anyone know?
Little guy named Brett Favre.
And then some SWAC schools as well with Jackson State and Alcorn State. And then a lot of high school, which I think it's easy to put that on the back burner. What I miss most about that job is high school football.
Really?
I loved high school football. And I didn't realize until I left how much I loved it, I think.
Interesting.
It's so fun. It's so raw. It's the game at its purest sport. I mean, it's great. It's so fun.
Families and parents.
The access too, which I mean, now I'm in a professional sports, but the access from high school to college is pretty different. And it was usually in town. Jackson is centrally located in the state. I mean, we had to drive, I believe it was 2 hours to Starkville for Mississippi State coverage, 2.5 hours to Oxford for Ole Miss coverage. college. So it was a lot of driving.
Yeah.
Whereas, with high school stuff, we stayed pretty centrally located in the metro area, which was nice.
Right.
You just got to know these coaches on a first name basis and, know these kids and watch these kids grow up, which was so fun. And to see Cam Akers always comes to mind. So Cam Akers played for Clinton High School. So I saw Cam Akers his senior year of high school.
Nice.
I think it was his senior year. I can't remember. But, now he's in the NFL. And I believe he was on the Super Bowl roster with the Rams. I need to check on that. But anyway, it was just fun to watch those guys grow up. And we hosted some 30-minute, I think it was 30-minute high school football shows. And it was just fast paced and it was fun. It was all hands on deck. It's just the passion was there.
Totally.
Which was so fun. I mean, I'm running around in the rain and then you gotta sprint to get on desk and get all your shot sheets together. And it was fun.
That's the stuff that it's so crazy and chaotic in the moment.
Yeah.
You're running here, you're running there, and
it's crazy.
All right, we got to go put this down. We got to get an Uber to go 3 blocks that way because this is where they're doing that.
Yep.
But that's the stuff that's the most fun. At the end of the day, that stuff is a blast.
It was super fun. I mean, and there was a lot of really fun stuff I covered with college too. Going to Omaha for the College World Series was a bucket list item for me. And so I covered Mississippi State and their magical Cinderella story-esque run to the College World Series. And I did it all by myself, MMJ the whole time. So I covered Mississippi State women's basketball. I felt like this was right when women's basketball was getting a ton of attention, which was awesome. But covered them in the Final Four and their national championship game, which they lost to Notre Dame. Womp womp. But all of that by myself. And I'll never forget, I think it was the women's basketball tournament where I'm walking down the street. I have a backpack with a laptop and all kind of heavy stuff. I have a giant tripod on this shoulder. I'm carrying the camera bag in this shoulder and then any other personal belongings.
Yeah.
And I just start crying on the side of the road. Will I ever get out of this? This is so much. I had worked, 39 hours of overtime. I'm exhausted, but it was so much fun.
It's so much fun.
It was so fun.
And it's it's those exact moments that you just talked about where you had the breakdown where you do have this forget this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm lugging all this stuff and I got to break it all down. I got to set it all up. But then the second it's set up, you're like, ooh, no, actually, I love this.
This is fun.
This is great. This is totally worth it.
Yeah.
No, that's, and then last thing that we can kind of move on to a little bit more of what you're doing right now. So you were covering SEC, but not LSU. Did that make it better, or do you wish that you would have had LSU as part of that? Or was it nice to because you have to remain impartial, right?
Yeah.
And so was it appreciated having the separation, or would you have liked to be able to have done it?
I was happy, not that I was happy away from LSU. That's all I knew for so long. I mean, that's the only stadium I had been to,
Yeah,
so
that's a great point.
It was nice to learn something new and learn a new team and learn new traditions and learn new fan bases and coaches and names. And I felt like it challenged me in a way.
Yeah.
And then I did get put on a couple of, games where we were playing LSU, where I got to
Nice.
cover Mississippi State football at LSU in the fall. And
Sweet.
that was, a full circle kind of moment. So it was really nice. And I just felt like, I knew everyone in the Baton Rouge area and that market. So it was nice to kind of do my own thing in a new market and put my own stamp on it. So.
Super. It's a very brave thing to do in this market. So, big kudos to you.
Thanks.
So in 2019, 2020 season, correct, was when you joined the Avs. How much hockey background did you have coming from Baton Rouge?
Yeah. So, none. And so I played volleyball. I played softball, a tiny little bit of soccer when I was real little.
Okay,
Again, football is a religion. I always thought that I wanted to work in football or baseball because of my softball background. I just love the sport. I love college baseball. I don't really have a major league team. That's besides the point.
Yeah.
Just Louisiana, you don't have one, so it was always college baseball.
And the one here doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, it's tough.
Bring
it's
you
tough,
in.
you know. So I always thought those would be the sports where I landed. I actually had a Heisman vote and an AP Top 25 vote.
Ooh, nice.
For college football.
That's pretty sweet.
And so I felt like I had all of these awesome accolades in college football and baseball for that matter. And I had a lot of basketball coverage under my belt too. But long story short, as many people know, these jobs are contract based. And so I had originally a 2-year contract that had expired. I was applying for jobs. Nothing was really biting. And I was like, I'm happy here. And I was able to negotiate a 1-year extension. And so got that. After I signed the 1-year extension, my sports director announced he's leaving. Remember, we started with 3. One guy had already left and they didn't replace him because like anything, we're cutting back on sports and costs. And so it was just the 2 of us. And then after I signed my extension, my sports director announced he's leaving. So then it was just me.
Just you.
And in order for me to be the official sports director, I would have to agree to another 3 years. And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I like this 1-year extension. I'm good. So I was lead sports anchor. I was the only one for my final year, which was...
Hey, it doesn't say you were the only one on your resume, right?
Man, it was the hardest year. It was so tough. I mean, balancing everything by myself. It was tough. I mean, we were able to pull in some help from the news department on people who were interested in some sports coverage, especially for those high school football shows.
Yep.
But yeah, I was doing everything by myself. So I was ready to leave after that year. So I'd been there for the 3 years, and I had the opportunity to stay, but again, it's signing another 2 years, and these contracts you cannot get out of. I mean, they own you.
That's what you're doing, yeah.
It's so tough. And so I took a huge bet on myself, and I left without having another job, which was the scariest thing. You
have a lot more courage than I do. That's 2 things in a row where I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I tell people all the time, like, bet on yourself. Because if I hadn't, I would have never got this job with the Avs, which ended up being, one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me personally and professionally, And so I did hire an agent, a talent agent who... You don't owe them money until they get you a job anyway, right? And so I worked with him for close to a year. Didn't get me anything. I'm like, great, this is really tough. So I went from thinking, out of school, I get this awesome, great job right out of school. Yep. And now I can't get over this hump to get my second job. I'm not getting phone interviews. I'm not getting anything.
Dang.
Like, what am I doing wrong?
Oh my gosh.
So I leave. And I pick up some freelance work with LSU football again over the summer. So I do a couple, training camp stuff with them, a couple little feature stories for a local tiny RSN that doesn't exist anymore. I did a couple of those things, and then actually picked up work with Wilson Premier Baseball.
Okay.
So it was a travel job. I spent a couple weeks in Florida, a couple weeks in Arizona, just with these young kids. It was like a showcase tournament, right? Joe Girardi's kids are playing in the tournament,
Yep.
And so I did feature stories with them, which was awesome. And all while applying for other jobs, I interviewed for a job in Tampa that I really thought I got. And then I found out I didn't get it on Twitter. And then
No way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, at this point, my lease on my house, my rental is up. So I'm moving back in with my parents.
Yeah.
My stuff's in a storage unit. I think this was my rock bottom. I mean, it was pretty low, right? I went from,
oh my
rock
gosh,
bottom.
finding out on Twitter.
And I found out on Twitter I don't get this job. I interviewed for this other job in Phoenix. I'm feeling good about it. The person I interviewed with, find out he gets fired the next Monday.
Oh.
What the... So nothing is going as planned.
And you're not just not getting the jobs, weird stuff is happening.
And I seriously am I'm going to have to go back to school.
Yeah.
So I waited tables in college. I was getting ready to call the restaurant back. Hey, I need to come wait some tables for a little bit. I mean, I thought that's where it was heading, which, I was you know what? This is fine. We're all fine. And then out of nowhere, started having some conversations with people at KSC. We were talking about a different job at the time that they were trying to get something off the ground, weren't able to make it happen.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we like your tape. There's an opening on the hockey side. Are you interested? And I remember thinking are you interested? Don't you see my resume and the sports that I have, And so I did the interview. It went really well. And I don't want to sell myself short. I've watched the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've watched a little bit on TV, but you have to understand where I'm coming from. I'm from South Louisiana. There's no ice,
Well, and I talk about it a lot with people that hockey, it struggles to get out of its own way with sometimes in terms of getting new people into the sport. Yeah. There's a lot of rules.
Yeah.
There's a lot of whistles that blow that aren't explained, and you just have to know what the whistle is.
But it's so entertaining.
Oh, it's unbelievably entertaining.
It's the best.
It's amazing.
So Denver was always a target market for me.
Yeah.
I always
you're such a Colorado person.
Right. I always wanted to live here. I went on a ski trip, and through college, it was through an LSU program, went with some friends. I was awful. I took lessons, couldn't learn how to stop. Anyway, I love to ski now.
Yeah,
got a
nice.
pass and everything.
Nailed it.
But I remember I took a photo of the mountains at the top of Breckenridge or something, and I had that as the screensaver on my laptop for years. And I kept telling my mom I'm gonna live there one day. I'm gonna live there one day. I want to live there so badly. It was, my thing. And so I was I'll interview for the job. This is a dream city. It's professional too. Yep. I'd be going from covering college sports to a professional team, which was where I wanted to get. And, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to interview and see what happens.
Right.
And it went really well.
Yeah.
And they valued my on-camera experience and presence, of course, but also the fact that I knew how to operate a camera and understood a lot behind the scenes because I had been an MMJ and like stacking my own shows for so long.
Yeah.
And that producer element too of like being able to put a show together in a way that we think fans would find interesting and compelling and entertaining. And so they valued all of that along with my work ethic, I would like to believe, of like trusting that I will figure this out and I will get this done. I mean, and I look back, I didn't have a lot of basketball experience before my first job, and I covered a national championship game. You learn as you go, and you just have to put in the work. And I think for a long time, I was always really scared to tell people I didn't have hockey experience because I want to be taken seriously and I want the respect. And I think respect is earned. And it's earned through being honest and truthful, and it's just earned over time. And I hope that after this is my 5th season with the team, that I've proven that I put in a lot of stinking work to learn this sport inside and out and to learn this team inside and out. And going from covering so many different sports, it was a year-round thing in local news, to really only having to focus on one sport, one league, one team really helped. It also helps that I work with awesome people. My boss is fantastic. No question was a dumb question. And they really set me up for success in that way. I didn't call highlights right away. It happened kind of fast, a little faster than I wanted. He kind of pushed me. He's like, no, we got to have senior football highlights. It's the same thing. You can do this. You can do this. So no question was a dumb question. I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I asked a lot of questions, and I just tried to be the biggest sponge that I could to just absorb. And it took me probably like halfway into my first season of feeling really comfortable and being able, but then took probably a whole season to trust myself. I'd want to say something and I'd be like, oh, I don't know. I'm like second guessing myself on it. And I've been around it long enough now that I feel very confident in everything. I think we can always learn something. I do feel like I learn something every day, whether it's hockey or not. So I'm constantly learning, and I'm try to be as open as I can to feedback and criticism, from those people around me that I at least trust. And I thought that this job would be a quick stepping stone to get to baseball, to get to football, not necessarily in Denver. Like maybe I'd have to move again. If I have it my way, I will never not work in hockey.
Really?
I love it so much.
That's amazing.
I love this sport. I mean, when opportunity knocks, if it's, whatever. But
like you said, if you get to draw it up.
I enjoy the sport so much. It's so fast paced. I love that the fans are so engaged into it. I was able to bring my parents, my mom, and my stepdad out to a game, I think maybe 2nd or 3rd season. It might have been the 1st season. It's all blending together. And my stepdad's a huge football fan, huge sports fan, very, very big football fan. He's that guy with like 5 TVs, right? My mom just doesn't care about sports at all. She never has. And so they came to a game, and of course my stepdad loved it, had so much fun. And even my mom was like, Rach, this is awesome. Nice. Her observation was everyone's paying attention. Everyone is invested in this game. She's like, people aren't on their cell phones. Like people aren't even hardly talking to each other. They're glued on what's happening on the ice. And I thought that put it perfectly, that someone who doesn't even like sports picked up on that, because that's how I feel at Avs games. I really enjoy the culture of it. And selfishly, I like that it's an indoor sport.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. I see some of the, especially NFL,
rain delays
they
or,
like what was that? The Buffalo had those couple different playoff games. And I was like, I'm good. I had Connor McGahey on here, and he talked about that show is built. One, he said that he kind of invented. All right, so that is a true
That's
thing?
my understanding.
Okay,
Connor was the first one to do the job, and then it was Alexis Perry, who I still have not met. Alexis, if you're seeing this, we've talked over text. She filled in for me on a game last year, and then Alexis Perry came in, did a great job, and then she went on to the Broncos, and then I came in. So my understanding is there's only 3 people that have done this, because it's a fairly new thing.
Well, and the way that you guys do it, I was very lucky in Columbus this past week. I hit my 32nd NHL arena this season.
Nice.
So I've seen a lot of in-game stuff. Your guys' is different. Yours is more constructed as what I would say is closer to like an intermission show that you would see on TV. So, you were talking about, you were multimedia journalist. I imagine that was helpful for them, because it's not just go be the in-arena host. There's a lot more to what you guys do that maybe you don't see in other arenas.
Right. And I haven't traveled a ton. I've been to a couple playoff games, actually, in the Dallas Stars arena. So
okay.
again, I didn't have hockey experience working, but like had been to a couple hockey games, and
yeah.
Anyway, just gotta throw that out there.
Yeah.
So that's the only other arena I've ever been in, and I don't remember there ever being anything even remotely close to what we have. I know a couple of arenas have tried to mimic that or do something similar.
Yeah.
A lot of the positions aren't even full-time though, so then they're limited on the stories they can tell or the stuff that they can put together because it's not even a full-time job, which to clear the air, my job is full-time. I've been asked a couple times like, oh, what's your day job? I'm like, don't you think this is enough? I don't need another day job.
Well, and that's maybe the part that people don't understand because, like I said, you're not just the in-arena host.
Right,
you guys put on a full show.
There's a lot. So I'm within our game presentation department within the Avalanche under the Cronky Sports umbrella, right?
Yep.
My job first is producer, second reporter. Like it's producer, reporter.
Wow.
I mean, I do a lot, do a lot of producing that people aren't, you don't see the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I answer a lot of emails. that was a bit of shock to me when I first took this job, but I answer a lot of emails, a lot of internal communications, right? Like KSC is a huge company. And if you've ever watched Avalanche Insight at Ball Arena, a lot of the stories are community features, right? The Avs, not only the players, but the brand and the community, that community outreach, the amateur hockey development department, trying to grow the game across the state of Colorado. I mean, they do really awesome stuff. And my job is to just help tell that story and show what the team and the organization and the company is doing within our community.
Yeah.
And so it takes effort to put all of that together to help it come together and to be knowledgeable of what's going on within those different departments. I work a lot with our marketing department, and it's just a lot of internal communications, cross-working, whatever the heck you want to call it. A lot of that to put it all together and working on my scripts in advance. I try to nail one amateur hockey story, one community story in every show is the goal, or every intermission between the two intermissions, while also knowing what the heck is going on with the team and interviewing players and trying to make sure it's very, X's and O's or hockey focused as well. Totally. So the idea there is to just keep the fans, all 18,000 plus of them, entertained if they're still in their seats. After they've gone to get a beer or a snack or whatever, that they have something to look forward to that is not only entertaining but informative and helps represent the brand in a positive manner. Yeah,
like I said, I've seen a lot of arenas this year, and there's a lot of it that's just silly kind of stuff. Yeah. And as someone who does not get up to go get beer during intermissions, I appreciate that you guys put on a nice production. I also just wanted to say, I told you this before, I'm not just saying this to you. When you told me before we did this that you had never worked in hockey before, it was very surprising to me. You never once, and like I said, I'm not just saying this, you never once came across to me like, oh, this is the first time I'm doing this. You seemed knowledgeable from day one.
Well, thank you.
So,
I appreciate it. Amazing. I mean, I hope that fans see that as well. I put in the work. Like my whole thing is no one's gonna outwork me, and that's how I've felt since I've graduated college, right? Like I will work as hard as I can and whatever it takes to be successful. And I also think it helped that I came in, I mean, there was definitely immense pressure. There's a big difference from being on TV in a studio reading off of a prompter versus being in arena talking in front of 18,000 people, hearing the feedback first of all, like the feedback from the mic.
The echo of your voice. The
echo, that's the word.
I'm very comfortable being on a mic, being on a camera, being in front of people. I cannot stand talking into a mic, like into a PA system.
It's crazy. I truly had no idea what the heck I was getting myself into. I'll never forget my first mic check. I said 2 words and I jumped back from the microphone.
Really?
I was like, oh no, this is weird. Yikes. And not only that, to hear the instant feedback from fans is so cool. It's really cool.
All right.
It's really cool. So I because I'm under the Cronky Sports, umbrella, I can work with Altitude TV too. And so I helped out with some high school football, which I love, football coverage for the state championship games this year. And that was my first time doing like a full TV, day of it in a long time. And it was weird. I was like, wait, I'm not getting the instant gratification. Did you like what I said? Did you, you're not getting the fan reaction, which is nice. And every once in a while, like in the arena, I'll throw out a question to the fans to get a response, just to make sure you're listening. Yeah. Like, are you entertained? Okay, cool. Just making sure. So that feedback is it's cool. It's very different. It's obviously super similar to TV and like being on camera and mic and everything, but gosh, it's different.
Well, I have to imagine there's just a different. And again, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but there's something different about there's 18,000 people staring at you rather than knowing that a lot of people are going to see this once it gets pushed out or on the other side. Because it's really easy to be like, well, they're on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
I don't see them. Exactly. Doesn't matter to me. But to have all those eyeballs looking at you, I have to imagine that mentally you have to like prepare yourself.
It's a lot. It took me a long time to get comfortable in that. I mean, I remember my leg used to always shake like before a show because I was just, I mean, it was nerves. I mean, it was like, so just being so nervous because they're right there in front of you. It's more like public speaking because you're in front of so many people, which is interesting though, because I coach group fitness on the side too. Alchemy 365, your first 3 classes are free. And I started doing that during COVID because I wasn't speaking in front of 18,000 people anymore. And I was worried I was losing the skill and I needed to keep like flexing that muscle. And so I had always been interested in the fitness world and I really enjoy the classes. Like I was a member first. And so started doing that. That was the scariest thing because I'm talking to groups of 20 people and I have to make eye contact with them.
all of them.
And that for me was really challenging, but I do think it has helped me become better in arena as well because it just makes it feel smaller in the end.
Totally.
And like if I can talk to 20 people and make eye contact with them, then I can talk to these 18,000 and like still feel comfortable and
because you can see with a group of 20 people, you can see who is engaged and who's not, who's listening, who's paying, like whose attention do I not have. 18,000 people. It's like, I'm sure most of them are listening.
Right. So it's, different levels of it from, TV where you're like, is anyone watching? Surely there are, but I can't tell because they're not here with me versus 18,000 and like, I'm pretty sure they're watching, but are they like, in the bathroom or whatever? And then it's like, 20 people you have to listen to them. So
did Danielle get you into the coaching stuff?
She didn't know. And it's funny, Danielle, I connected with her like right before she moved. We were planning like, let's go on a neighborhood walk. We realized we lived really close to each other.
Oh, really?
And she's like, let's go on a walk. And she tells me on her walk that she's moving. I'm like, Danielle, no. So big loss for sure.
I just because you've done that for a while. You've done like the teaching.
That's been about
stuff?
2-ish years. I mean, it's COVID time. I think is whenever around I started.
Last year, I remember having seen you post something about that, and I was like, between you, Danielle, and then Arif, who covers.
That's right.
I was like, gosh, this is just you have to teach fitness to cover the abs.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. Working in sports, you gotta have a little side hustle.
Gotta have something. Yeah. You're so good at this. You've answered a few of my questions before I could even get to them. So you've been super generous with your time. I got just a couple more for you. What's the hardest part of what you do now?
Yeah.
What's the most difficult part that like, I don't want to say that you dread, but like, gosh, that's the part that I have to get over that hump every time I do this.
I think like maybe technically speaking, the hardest part is trying to be articulate and know what I'm saying while also listening to people in my ear. So we're an IFB, which is similar to TV, right? Yeah. But with the in-arena production, we have a lot of people that are communicating to each other. They're not even talking to me half the time. And so it's trying to know like, are they talking to me? And listening for my director's voice.
Yes.
Of like, they, I'm in the middle of talking through highlights. Hey, we didn't get that player interview. You have to go to this feature story next. Like make sure you toss to this Kale McCarr feature story next. And so thinking while I'm also speaking
and not saying
what that is really, really hard.
No, yeah, for sure.
And it gets easier with time for sure. But anytime something chaotic like that happens and I come out alive on the other side, I'm like, you know what? I should be very proud of myself right now because that was tough. That was really tough to get through and we made it and I hope it's okay. The other hardest part, I think for me personally, is letting go of things. If I don't like the way I said something, if I'm like second guessing, like, wait, I said that, was that right? I can't remember. If I'm not 100% satisfied because I am a perfectionist, if I'm not super happy with what I did, it's easy to let that eat me up. And then it's really hard to get over it. If I feel like I've had a bad night or I've had an off night, it's just super hard to be like, I got to get over this, and come out on top. I totally get you. The only way that's helped me really get over it is honestly thinking about the players. I'll think about Georgiev let how many goals in the other night, and he has to come back out there and do a better job. And it happens. And so I think it's very easy for me to be like, oh, my job's so unique and so different. And like, I'm the only one who struggles with this kind of stuff. Like, no, it happens in a lot of different environments and different settings and at different levels. I mean, obviously I'm sure Alexander Georgiev is feeling a lot more pressure than I do. But similar in that of like, you gotta be able to wash it. And it sounds so cliche, but you just have to be able to move on from it. Right. And so I've really struggled with that. I've really tried to not like seek validation in other people of like, how bad was that? how bad was that? You know, it's like,
did you notice that? Was that noticeable? Did you think everyone caught that?
Yeah. You know, it's like, move on from it. And just also accepting the fact that I'm a human, and like, you know, if I stumble over it, just like call it out or make a joke out of it. Like, what just came out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna keep going here.
You did that earlier.
You know,
That's one thing that I've always really worked really hard to. You know, you're gonna stumble, you're gonna mess things up.
Yeah.
Drawing the wrong kind of attention to it makes it worse. But if you just go, what did I just say? Oh my gosh, I meant blah 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 blah, and then you just keep going, and like it's nothing. But
and it's fine. Yeah.
The having the IFB in your ear. So again, I like you were saying, I still every day work on believing in myself and all that stuff. And one of the things that I'm accepting that I'm very confident. Hand me a microphone and just give me a topic and I can go.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. But it is when I'm having to focus on what I'm saying, especially if I've got something like I know I need to talk about this, and then I'm just hearing other chatter, my brain really struggles to not.
It's hard.
Wait, what are they saying? What are they picking up on? Or is that talking to me? And then suddenly I'm realizing that I'm losing this connection. So I didn't realize that it makes sense that you have
it's
IFB.
like things that I think people don't think about, because it is, sure, we're not on TV, but it's still 100% live. I don't have a prompter. Like I have my notes in front of me of what I need, the Fanatic Sportsbook, the reads that I have to get in that pay the bills, that kind of stuff. But I don't know what's going to go wrong. I don't know what videos are maybe not coming out the right way, or, you know, we're relying on outside sources sometimes for other videos. Maybe we didn't get those on time, or the audio's messed up, or whatever it might be. It just can get crazy real fast. And that's just live.
That's just live.
That's just how it is.
Not only that, it's not even like you're just a camera on you.
Yeah.
You're throwing to the board. You have other interviews that are coming in. So like there's a lot of moving pieces, and that's maybe the part that, you know, it's one of the things that I've gotten good about not paying attention to, like the criticism from people that don't understand how this industry works. It's like, oh, is that really all you did? It's like, okay, come do it.
Yeah.
Come do it then and show me how easy it is.
And I think it's pretty easy to see, like my pregame show is 8 to 10 minutes. But like that takes me so long to put that stuff together, you know. The producing, like I'm already, you know, we're shooting this the day before a game day. Like I've already have my script kind of laid out, and then of course a lot changes with morning skate. But my intermission stuff, I have to connect with our amateur hockey department, make sure I'm getting everything in that we need to get in there. Our CR department, and then also any other fun stories I want to get into that are maybe
stuff that you want to talk about.
that don't fall into those like categories. It's just something fun and different. Okay, well then I need to work on that, and I'm very fortunate in this position for very many reasons. I am no longer an MMJ, so I have a videographer and I have an entire editing staff that you know works for the company that I work with, and so I put in a request for a project. An editor is assigned to me, and I work with the editor, and we have incredible editors, you know, so they know what they're doing most of the time. And so I just work with them and guide them of, hey, this is my vision for this project. So I don't have to do all the editing anymore, but it still takes time to produce and guide and lead on how I want things to kind of look and come together. Yep.
And then, so you said 8 to 10 minute pieces. Are you like me? I can over talk. So I have to worry about like, ooh, I need to hit on these things. So I need to, it's for me, it's not even like, I need to make sure I've got enough. I'm like, no, I need to make sure that I'm hitting on what I need to hit on and move on.
It depends. That's kind of the cool thing about in arena and game presentation is because we're not TV, there's not as many restrictions
there's no
on
clock.
We have to, you know, at this exact time we are going to commercial. I mean, I say that there are restrictions.
Right,
we got to get out of the way when it's time for puck drop and to play that video for when the team enters on the ice.
Yep.
But on the front end, maybe it's, hey, Alan Roach, can you fly through these reads super fast tonight so Rachel can start her show early? She has a really big pregame show.
Yes.
Then there's that flexibility on the front end at least. And then there's other times where the director's in my ear like, hurry up, we got to get out of here. Oh my gosh, we're going to miss this. Like, you know, so it needs to be quicker. So that happens for sure. I mean, even just last night, you know, tough loss with that. Sorry, I don't know when this is going to air, but anyway, it's we're ending the second intermission show, so it's my last hit for Avs Insight for the night, and I'm trying to throw out that, you know, the Avs have 26 come from behind wins this season. I'm trying to get it, and he's like, hurry, you know. I'm like, okay.
They come back a bunch of times. Bye.
Yeah. So that definitely happens at times.
Yeah. No,
so trying to keep things as short and sweet as I can, but also I think it's pretty clear when I'm trying to figure out what's next. I'm just rambling. I'm just like saying the same thing 3 different times because I forgot what's next.
What was it? You just spurred a memory of me. What was the situation? I think it was maybe earlier this season where gosh, was your mic messed up, or were you
Yes.
were highlights not going? What was it?
I mean,
where you were just kind of stuck like on camera, like,
you know, I don't know when that was, but there was a time, I think it was last season, where we had some weird audio issues where the mic just didn't come on. And so they kept coming to me and I'm talking and my mic's not working.
This is what it was.
And then it was like, we went to a technical issue. Sorry, you're experiencing, where we have technical issues. They'd come back to me like, yeah, we got it figured out. Come back to me. And it's still not working.
This is what it was. Yeah.
And it was like, oh man, this is tough. But it's no one's fault.
Right.
Like it was a system issue that needed to be reset or, just something fluky.
Turn it off.
Whatever.
And turn it back on.
It's no one's fault. And it happened. And it is what it is.
The part that I felt for you, you being the one in that situation is that's a really bad feeling when the camera comes on, the light's on, and not because of anything you did, or like you said, no one's fault, but like this is staring at me. And
I remember thinking I should have done charades. I thought about it after. I was like, I should have put the mic down and gone 2 words. Like, there was a time too, I think it was maybe during the Stanley Cup run, or the playoffs or what, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And
like you said, it all runs together after.
It's all the same. I didn't turn my mic on, so it was my fault. And I didn't turn my mic on. I start talking. I stopped. I looked down. I turned the mic on, and I was like, that was my fault. I didn't turn the microphone on. My apologies. Let's keep going. You know, and I think that that's okay to acknowledge it. And I can't remember who it was. It might have been like Boucher from ESPN, or because it was a nationally televised game, was in the building that night, and they saw me as I was like heading into the elevator, and he stopped me and he was like, that was awesome. People respect you and you like own your own mistakes. And that kind of stuck with me. I was like, well, thanks, dude. I mean, I couldn't put that on anyone else. It was totally my fault. And what else am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
So that's also one of the hardest parts is like when things go wrong, what do you say? You want to try to have something witty or funny in your back pocket. But at that point, I was like, I'm just be honest. I didn't turn my mic on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I feel like that is with what you guys are doing, it not being a broadcast or whatever, you have a little bit of that freedom to like have some fun with it.
Yeah. We have a lot of flexibility, a lot of freedom within reason to just have fun. And that's what I try to remind myself is like, this is fun, right? Isn't that your,
yeah.
We're doing this because it's fun. And if you're not having fun anymore, then I think you need to reevaluate 100%. What you're doing.
Yes.
I mean, there's a time and place for a more like traditional standard job. My husband's in an office Monday through Friday, right? Like there's a time and place for that. But if you're going to work in sports, you should be having fun. That's what this is. So I try to remind myself to just have fun with it all the time. And I hope that comes through on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. I got 2 last ones for you. They're both kind of fun. Being an LSU grad, just your thoughts on Caitlin Clark.
Wasn't it who said Kim Mulkey said she was happy she was gone. Yeah. I'm also happy she's gone, but then I'm also sad that Angel Reese is departing too.
I know,
right?
So she is going WNBA
I'm
as
pretty
well,
sure
right?
that's what I saw. Yeah. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on that. I just thought I saw a tweet on
it.
No,
I'm pretty sure you're right. Yeah.
I am just so appreciative for those women that we're talking about and so many others who are elevating women's basketball, but not only women's basketball, women's sports in general.
Totally.
The fact that, I did a live interview recently with some of our national champions, for high school hockey.
Yeah.
And I do small talk with the interviewees before we go live, right? He's like, oh, where are you from? From Louisiana. Oh my gosh, are you an Angel Reese fan? Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. This person, all they know about me is that I work for the Avs. I'm from Louisiana. And his first question was, are you an Angel Reese fan?
Yeah.
And that hit me so hard in the best way. I was like, I love that you just asked me that. And then, there are so many other LSU greats you could have asked about, right?
Right.
And it just, what they've done for the sport, again, with women's sports is just incredible. They're giving people something to watch, a reason to watch that hasn't been there, that has been lacking.
Yep.
It's just so great. And I'm so appreciative of them because I covered women's basketball for a while with Mississippi State, and it's a fun sport, and these women work just as hard, and they're putting in just as much time and effort, and they just deserve all of the attention, that they're finally somewhat getting.
Yeah.
What I don't like is that like negative, oh, well, the smack talk, and they're getting all this.
I saw this thing, and we won't get into it now, but you and I can talk about it at some point later. I saw a thing about that yesterday, that there's been a lot of like WNBA people who have like kind of been putting down Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese for like, well, they shouldn't be acting. It's like, stop. They're attracting more eyeballs to the sport than ever. Like,
well, that's the game.
Right.
It's a no contact sport, but it's a physical sport, and it's a sport where you talk trash to each other.
Right.
You're not going to go out there and tell like some of the NHL players to stop.
Right.
Like,
hey, come on, be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, be a little nice. You should be more ladylike.
Right.
You know.
And so no, I'm totally with you. And like
part
I said,
of the game.
They had the LSU Iowa national championship last year, Final Four this year. So I just thought that was last one I got for you. It's I guess if you could just pass on any one thing to someone who's in this, following the same path that you did. That's, like you said, it's not linear.
Yeah, no.
And it feels frustrating. Like, is there anything that now, being the veteran that you are, that you wish, the Rachel who left that first job and was starting to think she wouldn't get a second one?
Yeah, a couple things. Whatever you have planned up in your head right now, laugh about it and just throw it in the trash can. Working in hockey is just like, what? How did we get here? This is awesome. Bet on yourself, always. If I hadn't taken that chance, I don't know where I'd still be. Maybe things would have worked out. It just would have been a different path.
Sure.
I met my husband here.
Yeah.
I love Denver. We bought a house here. I don't want to move. Like, I'm not willing to relocate. ESPN, if you're watching. There's but as I love it here. I don't want to leave. I love my job. I think the platform I have is very unique and different, and something that I really, really appreciate now after spending so much time in it. And then specifically for women, to hold people accountable for their actions and their words. I really didn't understand that getting into this field. I always knew that I was going to be treated differently. I always knew that I was going to get different types of attention because I'm a woman in this field and just a woman in general. I dealt with a lot of nonsense in Mississippi, and I don't know, and I have a soft spot for Mississippi. No one's allowed to talk bad about Mississippi but me, okay? It's like the little sibling thing.
It's like your sibling,
And I don't know if it's because of the nature of the location, it's, the Deep South, if it is because I covered college and high school sports, or if it's like a combination of all the things. But I put up with a lot of crap and a lot of things that were said that were wildly inappropriate. And I took it, I was like, it's just part of the job. Like, oh, that sucks, and I would just try to move past it. And that is not cool and not okay. And I don't deal with that at all here. I don't know if it's because Denver's a little bit more progressive and it's a bigger city. If it's professional sports setting, maybe it's the hockey setting in general. I'm just treated with like a ton of respect from internally and externally with fans too. So it's been really a great experience, but has helped me realize like, wow, I should have not allowed those people to say those things to me and think it's okay. Always have something. What I tell like young girls that I talk to on the phone is have something in your back pocket that's witty but assertive, to where you don't like freak out and curse them out. I've wanted to do that before. Right. Just say like, that was inappropriate. And, just have something and don't let people treat you that way. You deserve to be here just like anyone else. Work your butt off and enjoy the ride. Have fun. Have fun.
Yeah. That's, I wanted, the one last thing I wanted to circle back to, because I actually talked about this with Romy Bean. Her and I had the same shared experience. Trying to get in this, I also had to move back in with my parents, trying to navigate the media scene. And I think that's one thing that I now, I don't say, don't be afraid to move back in with your parents, but like, there's a lot of people that look at it as, no, I have to keep, moving forward, and I have to keep making more.
There's a couple setbacks,
there's going to be setbacks.
You'd be surprised. I think the more people you talk to, you'll realize a lot of people have setbacks in their career. They lose their jobs, they get laid off, they choose to leave a job without having one because of the contract situation. You're not going to make a lot of money to start. And, I heard that all through college, and I don't know why it never bothered me because I was a child.
Right. And then in your head, you're like, no, but I'll do it.
I'll figure it out. Yeah. Sorry, you can't figure it out. I'll figure it out. And like, the first couple years were a little tough. Like I had a budget binder. I wrote down every penny I spent, to make sure like everything was okay. And moving back in with my parents was really hard. But it's just all part of the ride. I actually always viewed it as, I had a lot of friends that went on to grad school, law school, like whatever it was. So for me, my first like 2-3 years, I was like, you know what, that's my grad school.
Totally.
Like I'm still figuring things out. I'm fresh out of school. And that's how I tried to approach it. But also you might experience this later in your career too. It might be, 7, almost 10 years into it. This entire industry is just evolving and changing so much. I spoke at LSU in the fall. There's fall sports summit, and we talked a lot about how it's changing, right? When I was in school, it was like the rise of social media. It felt like that was the big change. But what's exciting, it's scary at the same time because a lot of people are losing their jobs because TV is becoming less and less. These types of mediums are becoming more and more, but that's exciting because there are more opportunities now to work in sports. My job didn't exist I don't believe in college. And now
Right.
here we are. So it's just opening up a lot more opportunities, and don't box yourself in. I know at least at LSU, it felt like I was being told the only way to work in sports and be this sports reporter was local news. Like that was the path that was sold to me, because it made sense at the time, and it did work for me.
Yep.
It did work for me, and I enjoyed it. Local news is, that's a whole nother thing. It's a tough world. But don't feel like you have to do it, or do it for 2 years and then find something else. I mean, not saying that you still need to work hard and everything, but there's so many other opportunities out there, different ways to get experience on camera, different ways to get live experience, this in-arena stuff. I mean, truly, when I got the offer for the in-arena job, my current job, I was like, is this a step down?
Yeah.
Because I had TV experience.
Right.
And I asked I need examples of what this looks like, and they sent me all these examples. And I was like, man, no, this is cool. This is different. This is unique. This is not, with no disrespect to anyone who does this, but it's not t-shirt tosses. It's
Correct.
it's not just doing the game stuff. I get to be a reporter, which is what I wanted to do. And so the opportunities are out there. Yeah.
I think don't box yourself in is a great one. Say yes to everything.
Absolutely.
Rachel, I'm so glad that you came down. You and I have worked loosely around each other for the last 4 or 5 years, and so it's great to sit down and talk with you more. We'll have to have you back here.
I'm so excited to be here, and just thanks so much for the opportunity. I can talk for days. So and I told you, in the locker room, I think it was yesterday, that I'm an open book. I'm always happy to answer any questions, and I try to be as transparent as I possibly can on how I got there. And I know it probably rubs people the wrong way that I didn't have hockey experience, but I hope that they understand where this is coming from.
Well, and again, but I think what you said though is, to me, I think that's what people should take away and maybe even respect more about you, is that I didn't have anything and I said yes and I came and worked my tail off to get there.
I didn't know a single person here. I moved here by myself. I think I'm too big
of a weenie to do that. I don't know if I could do that.
Put my dog and what I could fit in my Honda Accord, and I drove 19 and a half hours. And I was like, you know what? If I fall on my face, I don't know anyone here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. One more thing. One thing I forgot I was going to say earlier was it helped, I thought, not having hockey experience. I wasn't intimidated by these players.
Totally.
You were just another dude. It was just like Nathan McKinnon. Hey, man, so I got this question about, I didn't put these guys on this super high pedestal, and I wasn't nervous around them because
right. You're
whatever.
I don't know. I'm from Louisiana.
You're just another player, so that helped a lot too.
No,
anyway.
for sure. No, I think that's great. I'm a crazy talker too. Yeah. We could go for 3 more hours here.
Probably.
Let's have you back here this summer.
Yeah,
once
would love
we get
to.
through all the craziness of playoffs, we'll have you back.
My most asked question is what I do in the off season, so we can chat about that.
Perfect. We'll save that one for next time. A little teaser for next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
Rachel
so welcome.
TOS, Avs in Arena. All right, big thanks to Rachel for coming out. We've had some great guests on here, and we've got more coming here in the next couple weeks. So keep an eye out for all that. New episodes coming every Wednesday. We are officially now, This Is Fun drops every Wednesday from now going forward. So thank you again to Rachel. Talk to you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. This is fun.